Welcome to the Advance Your Art podcast, where we talk about the journey from artist to entrepreneur and everything in between. You've worked hard to hone your craft. Now take it to the next level with tips, techniques, strategies, and routines used by successful artists to grow their businesses and careers. Now, let's get started and have some fun with your host, Yuri Cataldo.
Hello, Kay. Welcome to the show. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Of course. It's my pleasure. Thank you for joining me.
It's great. Definitely great to be here.
Wonderful. So I'd like to start off because you have a new book coming out called Messages of Inspiration. So I'd like to just start off by asking you about your new book and what inspired you to write a book about inspiration.
Well, it was actually, I was meditating over Christmas. It was like a slow time. So I was just meditating. And then I had this, massive download, this intuitive guidance to write a book, 365 quotes. At first, I'm like, how am I supposed to write all this? Mm-hmm. But it just, it was really like, I'm very in tune with, my spiritual side. So I was really getting this constant download of, writing these messages. And it was really to bring some clarity to people that, more is possible. I mean, I'm all about creating more possibilities for my clients and for people's anyways. And my book is really about, bringing that to people, allowing them to see that, you can do more, you can be more, you can have so much more than you think you can have. Mm-hmm. So it's all about really creating more joy, more success, more happiness in their life. So that's really where my whole inspiration came from, is bringing that light to people, because oftentimes we don't really think more is possible, that we're in this situation right now and there's nothing more possible and we can really dream big. And my book is really there to show them, what you can, that anything that you really want and even more than you can imagine is really possible for you. And it's really supposed to help you, really motivate you and inspire you. I mean, I have sometimes days where I'm having a little bad day and then I grab my book, and usually I don't read my own books. And it just really puts me in a much better mood when you read those inspirational quotes and you start your day off a lot better. I mean, like every morning, I read at least one quote just to kind of get into the mood of, what, I'm going to create the life that I want. So that's really where my whole inspiration came from to write this book.
Wonderful. So while you were writing this book, where were your inspirational quotes pulled from? And how did you decide to focus your book in a particular way?
Well, it was more like message. I mean, like I said, I'm very in tune with my spiritual side. So mm-hmm. I do something that's called accessing my Akashic Records. So I'm an Akashic Record Consultant. Mm-hmm. And the Akashic Records is basically your soul's library of all of your lifetime. There's a little on the woo-woo side. And not everyone is open to that. But that's really where the guidance came from to write this book. And then every time, I was getting into my records, I'm like, okay, what message can I share today? Mm-hmm. Because I would have not been able to come up with 365 quotes. I mean, I had a hard time just coming up with one. So I was basically, tuning into my records and really, with the universe and everything. And then I was just getting those downloads. I remember one day, I had like about 40 or 50 messages that just kind of came through. I was just sitting there writing and writing and writing. I mean, so that's basically where I got it from. I'm very in tune with, also with my angels, with my guides. And basically they were giving me those messages to share, in my book.
That's wonderful. Okay. So I always find this very interesting because a lot of people are petrified by the blank page. And it seems like your inspiration comes from deep within you and you pull from other areas on that. So when you're ready to, let's say, sit down and start writing, does the inspiration come first, or do you have like a process where you kind of sit down and then, you have, meditation or a practice that you work through that allows inspiration to then come through you? Or how does your process work?
Well, I actually have different ones. Like for this book in particular, I was really getting into my records, and I was just like, okay, what message can I share today? What is important for me to put in my book? I visualized basically, I connected with my book, like what do I want to feel and those type of things. So it came through. I mean, sometimes I just sat there, I'm like, okay, it's not coming, and I ask again, and then it just came. But when I wrote my first book, I also had those, oh my God, what am I writing right now? Or even right now when I write a blog post or something for social media, I do get that as well where, blank, nothing there. Mm-hmm. And what I do is there's an exercise that I did a lot for my first book that I just start writing whatever came to mind. I didn't care about punctuation or misspelling. I didn't care. I even talk nonsense like, really don't even know what I'm supposed to be writing. And oh my God, my brain is so blank. I just start writing because just when you just get into that writing mode, even if it doesn't make no sense, you kickstart your creativity side. And then eventually I started, I really wanted to talk about this and this. And then I slowly but surely went into the topic, and all of a sudden I was in. And then, it's just, it's starting to flow. So I do that even for, when I write blog posts, that sometimes I'm just sitting here and nothing is coming through. Another thing is what I do is I just kind of really tune into basically my essence. Like, I focus on, the feeling that I'm feeling right now. I have a topic and I really tune into the topic. Okay, what do I want to write about? What is it that I want to bring across? What do I want my audience to feel when they read this particular blog or this particular, content? Mm-hmm. And then usually I get something. If it's nothing is coming, then I'm like, okay, today is not a good day to write. So I just, take a break, do something else, and then I come back. Or sometimes I just do something else creative that just gets my creative juices flowing, and then I can get into the writing. But yeah, I think like every person has that so-called writer's block from time to time.
Right. So when you approach your day, are there particular times of the day where you're more creative? Like, do you, block off mornings versus evenings? Or do you, I guess, kind of just go about your work and then decide to switch over and start writing when you feel more creative?
When it came to my book, I didn't think I would write it this fast. I mean, it only took me like 45 days to write the entire book. Mm-hmm. And I sat there on the weekends. And like I said, the good thing was for this, I didn't have to do it all by myself. I was really getting the guidance. But before, it was whenever I, really was in the mood to write, because when you sit there and you force yourself to write, I never block out actually time to, okay, this is the time that I'm going to write, because if I force myself, nothing is coming. So sometimes I blocked out like a day. I'm like, okay, this is day I'm going to really focus on just my book. But then I still, I let it flow whenever I felt like I was in the mood. And, so I don't really have a set schedule for that. I really just, when it comes to that, I go with the flow, or usually I write in the morning, because in the evening, my mind is not good for writing. So I have to do anything on that end in the morning times, sometimes even during the day, rarely in the evening.
Okay. So your previous book, The Coaching Business Blueprint, mm-hmm. What made you decide to want to write that book? And even more importantly, what made you decide to want to be a business coach?
Well, I wrote this book because when I first came across the coaching industry back in 2012, mm-hmm. I had looked into, coaching schools, and I just did not have thousands of dollars to get certified. Mm-hmm. And I was like, hey, Amazon has lots of books. So I was looking for a book that was comprehensive enough that taught me how do you coach, how do you start a coaching business, and then how do you actually sell your coaching business. The problem was I didn't find one. I found one on, the building your coaching business, but there was nothing about actually how do you actually coach someone, because that's the one thing that I had no idea about. Mm-hmm. So at that point, I actually said, you know what? One day someone should really write a comprehensive book that gives someone like me enough information to see, is coaching even really for me? How do you really get started? What's involved? And then so they can actually have something to get started with. And of course, the selling part is very important. So when I got certified in 2015, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to write this book. I had all this knowledge, I had learned so much over the years. I mean, I actually then invested, thousands of dollars in actually getting certified. Mm-hmm. So that was then when I said, you know what, I'm going to write this book. I actually didn't think I would be able to write a book, but I was talking to a friend of mine, and she was going through a course at that time about how to become a published author. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, hey, you got to tell me, how do you go about that? So she just kind of gave me the little rundown. Okay, this is what you got to do, and, start here and do this. I'm like, okay, got it. And then about 2 months later, my book came out.
Wow, that's wonderful.
Yeah, for some reason, I get books out really quickly. I don't know.
That's not a bad thing. That's definitely something to be proud of. Have you ever thought about then working with other people to help them create books as quickly as you do?
Well, my clients, if they are at a stage that they want to write a book, then yes, I guide them. I mean, I'm not going to just go directly just into helping people write a book. If my clients want to write a book, yes, of course. If someone wants me to work with them, of course. I mean, I'm not going to turn them away. But I like the business side and the mindset side. So I really focus on the business coaching and also the mindset coaching, really infused with the spiritual side as well. But yeah, I have never have any problems, just giving someone tips at least to how do you actually write a book or something like that.
Sure. So when you're working with your clients, at what point do you feel it's the right time for them to write a book?
Well, you see, not everyone is actually ready for that, because when you think about it, when you write a book, your name is out there. And a lot of people... Because, I mean, everyone holds a book in them. They hold more than one book in them. I mean, you can write like 10 books probably, and everyone can write at least one book or at least share their story. The problem is when you share your story or when you put your name on your book, that is huge. And, some people, they might feel very afraid, like, what if no one likes my book? What if, people hate my book? What if they judge me and those type of things? So it's a lot of the mindset piece. So not everyone also wants to go that route, because usually when you become an author, then there are different expectations. People might expect you to then all of a sudden go out there and speak. I mean, I want to do that now with my upcoming book, but before I was like, I don't want to speak, speaking in front of people, no. I was a little, afraid of that. Yeah. But, it just comes with so much attachment that some people might say, what, writing a book is not my thing. Or they just feel very overwhelmed, just the thought of, oh my God, I got to write a book. That is so huge. So my clients, if they are at the point that they want to write a book, we'll go about that. But for me, I really focus more on helping them build their business, because yes, a book is amazing for credibility and it's amazing for, it opens a lot of doors for you. But if my clients are not ready for that, I'm not going to push them to that. But hopefully, then later on down the road, once they gain that confidence that, what, I can write a book, then I would definitely say, hey, let's write a book. Mm-hmm. But it really goes, I don't really look at, okay, every one of my clients is going to write a book. I really go by, where are they? Is that really their style? Is that something that they want to do? And we just kind of see, we play by ear.
Mm-hmm. So you brought up something interesting about mindsets, and I know they're equally as important in writing a book as they are in starting your business. So how do you work with your clients to get them in the right mindset? So, whether they're writing a book or building up their company, they can be successful and they don't let limiting beliefs hold them back.
Well, I have a 5-step process. It starts with, really getting clear on what are your possibilities. Like, so you're actually open to that. So you're open to seeing what's really possible for you. So one of the questions I ask my clients is, what would you do if you know you could not fail? And that's a powerful question. Because if you really put all the struggles aside, all the challenges, all the worries, and oh my God, I'm not good enough, and all of those different things, if you put all that aside, what would you be doing? Right? So that's your possibilities right there. That's the opportunities that you have in your life. And then really the next step would be looking at, okay, this is where you want to be. These are the possibilities that you have that you would like to create in your life, but this is where you're at right now. So really getting clear, where are they and what is holding them back? What is between that? from, if you're at A but you want to be at Z, what is in between that? Really then uncovering really what is holding you back. I like to call this the inner gremlins, because we all have those, the self-doubt, limiting beliefs, imposter syndrome, because how can you start a business? Who are you to charge people for what you do? And those type of things. And even it goes back to also the money story that you have. Like oftentimes, and I think that's like one of the biggest challenges that so many entrepreneurs have, or actually people in general, is the lack mindset around money. So by really looking at, okay, what is your money story? How do you feel about money? That determines how successful you're going to be in your business.